Trev's Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. That's too sweet. Anyway, continuing with my review of all the NHL's outdoor games. And today we're talking about the worst possible match in my eyes, because at the time and even to this day, I've never been a fan of really either team, but that's my own problem. We're talking about the seventh outdoor game in league history. Probably one of the most on the edge of your seat games I can think of, anyways. Today, we're reviewing the 2012 NHL Winter Classic, which saw the Philadelphia Flyers hosting the New York Rangers. So let's talk about it. So the fifth Winter Classic in league history took place in front of 46,967 fans in attendance at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now that's the home of Major League Baseball's Philadelphia Phillies. Now that 46,967 puts the outdoor game right about here, which at the time is fourth most in outdoor game history. Keep in mind, this is still the seventh outdoor game. This attendance chart will change. Now, in terms of location, Lincoln Financial Field was the initial preferred choice to host the 2012 Winter Classic. But, much like the 2011 Winter Classic, the thought of scheduling would not make Lincoln Financial a possibility, as the league needs at least a week to set up the arena, and the Eagles were scheduled to play on January 1st. Now, on the topic of January 1st, this would be the first Winter Classic in league history to be played on January 2nd. And this was is more of a courtesy to the NFL, but also to the college bowl games, as there's no way they can compete with that. And, the NFL schedule having their games on January 1st, this year was no exception. The biggest difference between this one and the 2011 Winter Classic is this one actually returned to daytime as it was scheduled. Now, that's not to say there wasn't a delay. There was actually a 2-hour delay due to weather, but the delay was much shorter than the 2011 Winter Classic. Maybe that's just a Pennsylvania thing. I don't know. Now, for the Flyers, this is their second outdoor game, having previously played in the 2010 Winter Classic, which, if you follow the link, you'll find it there. For the Rangers, this would be their first outdoor game. Definitely not their last. So with the formalities out of the way, let's talk about the jerseys. So for the Flyers, it's the same old typical, it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. Now, there's really no inspiration behind this jersey or any jersey history in the Philadelphia area, but popular rumor is this was inspired by a sock. So it does a good job of looking vintage, though, so that's always a positive. And it sticks to what the Flyers know, like I said, so why would they change that, right? Let's talk about the Rangers. Now, the interesting thing to note on this jersey is it's the first time since 1978 the Rangers used a full crest on the jersey. Again, probably wouldn't be the last time. Now, this particular version of the jersey is a version used between 1927 and 1947, so not really a specific throwback as much as it is several era throwback. But either way, it looks like a nice job of vintage. So that's the jerseys. Let's talk about the lineups. Let's start off with the Rangers. Now, a lot of these guys are playing their first outdoor game, but a lot of them won't be playing their last. The Rangers will be back, and most of these guys will still be on the team. Callahan's your captain. The King's in net. Biron's your backup. And Michael Rupp making his second consecutive appearance, having previously played in last year, the 2011 Winter Classic. Head coached by John Tortorella. Let's talk about the Flyers. So your usual suspects around this time for Philadelphia. Max Talbot playing in his second consecutive game as well. Daniel Briere playing in his second game with the Flyers, having played in 2010. The ageless wonder, Jaromir Jagr's in there, and they're coached by Pierre Laviolette. So, let's talk about the game. So, like most outdoor games to this point, the first period was a lot of getting the feel for the ice. And while both teams were getting plenty of chances, both goalies would do an amazing job leaving the first period scoreless. Matt Carl would get called for slashing at 16:58, and not even a minute later, Brad Richards would take a tripping penalty at 17:47. But other than that, first period it would end with the Flyers out shooting the Rangers 12-9. So while still scoreless, it's still a very productive period. Now the second period would see the Flyers come hard to the Rangers with more chances and more opportunities, but we still didn't find the game's first goal until about the 12:26 mark. And then Braden Shen would score off the face-off rebound from Matt Carl to give the Flyers the 1-0 lead. Now, it wasn't only Shen's first goal of the season, it was also his first goal of his career. So it's not often you get a first goal of a career at an outdoor game, but there's our first. And almost 2 minutes after that, Claude Giroux would score his 18th of the season off of a sweet pass in front of the net from Max Talbot and Scott Hartnell at the 14:20 mark to give the Flyers the quick 2-0 lead. There you go, drop of a hat, and you make all the difference. Not to be outdone, though, the Rangers would get one of their own. Exactly 30 seconds later, Michael Rupp would score his second of the season on a slick wrist shot from Brandon Prust and John Mitchell to keep the Rangers within one. And, on top of that, Rupp did his best Jagger salute to go along with the goal. Something to that effect. Now the second period end with the Flyers out shooting the Rangers 14-8. And believe this or not, there's actually no penalties taken in the second period. Hence why we weren't really talking about them. So 2-1 going into the third. Let's finish it. Now the third period would see the only 2 goals of this period scored relatively early. Rupp would get himself back on the scoreboard, scoring his third of the season, his second of the game, on a really weird angle shot that managed to trickle past goalie Bob from, again, Brandon Prust and John Mitchell at the 2:41 mark to tie the game at 2. And, no Jagger salutes this time. After a little bit more back and forth, Brad Richards would score his 14th of the season after being out at the right place at the right time, with the assist going to Brandon Dubinsky and Ryan Callahan of the 5:21 mark to give the Rangers their first lead of the game with a 3-2 score. Actually, it was a pretty sweet goal, the more you think about it. And after some more back and forth, the penalties that we lacked in the second period, they would emerge in the third. Ryan McDonough would be given a delay of game penalty at 14:48. After more physicality and more chances, Kimmo Timonen would get called for interference, and Ryan Callahan would get called for holding the stick, both at 18:54. And with 20 seconds to go in the game, near the end, Flyers are pouring it on. Ryan McDonough would get called for covering the puck in the crease. But instead of a 2-minute penalty to end the game, the Flyers were awarded the first penalty shot in outdoor game history. So no pressure or nothing, but Flyers went with Daniel Briere to take the penalty shot. And if I was the coach, I would have went with Briere too. The guy was a presence all night. He wasn't necessarily effective on the score sheet, but it was the little things that he was doing that was keeping the Flyers relatively within reach of this game. But 20 seconds to go. And he's going one-on-one with the King on a penalty shot on primetime TV in front of 46,000 fans. And I'm sure while Briere meant well and was not caving to pressure at all, the mistake I found he made was he was trying to go 5-hole on the King. But Lundqvist, being Lundqvist, saw that thing all the way through and managed to keep the Rangers with a 3-2 lead, 20 seconds left in the game. So the game would end with a 3-2 Rangers win, and, just for good measure, spits, tickles, whatever you want to call it, Scott Hartnell decided, he was going to start playing a little rough at the end of the game, and he would get called a 2-minute penalty for cross-checking, and a 10-minute misconduct, all at the 20-minute mark. Really unnecessary, but hey, ref's got a ref, right? Now, while the Rangers outshot the Flyers 16-10 in the third period, the Flyers had the Rangers beat in shots overall in this game, with a 36-33 total. Now, the third period was by far the fastest paced period of the game, and definitely not without its excitement, given that penalty shot and all. Now, how hard the Flyers attempted to make that comeback in the last few minutes, it really had one believing it was going to happen. That's why I said at the beginning, really edge of your seat kind of game. As far as that, in that perspective, making me really want to pay attention and really get invested into it, I put it up at the top, or very close to the top. One of the best games, anyways, in my mind. But let's go to some real world stats, if you want to call it that. As far as the team records are concerned, they're right there. 1 game, 3 goals, 3 goals for, 2 goals against, 2 points. Again, still relatively young. This will change. Philadelphia Flyers playing in their second. Haven't won a game yet. They've scored 3, led in 5, got 1 point on an overtime loss. This will change. It won't necessarily change better for the Flyers, but it will change. But anyway, like I just said, one of my favorite outdoor games that has been put on. I mean, again, it's the fact that it's the Philly and the Rangers. And going into it, I really wasn't invested into it. Coming out of it, I was like, wow, that was a great game. Terrible choice of opponents, but man, they put on a good show, and I was thankful for it. But as far as coming back to Philadelphia, yeah, outdoor games will come back to Philadelphia in time. So that's another one of them Trev's hockey shows. I want to thank you for tuning in, especially if you've made it to this part. Just know that if you have made it this far, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. It at least lets me know you're here, that you've made it this far, that you're digging what I'm doing. That'd be awesome. If you want, that red button says subscribe all over it. This isn't me telling you what to do. This is me trying to convince you, hey, you want to push that button. It's good for you. It'll help you. It'll help me. It'll make me feel good. It'll make you feel good. It'll help my algorithm. And because we're making that push to 5, the more the merrier. Now, as far as the winter games, or the Winter Classics, Stadium Series, outdoor games, all that stuff, the next year of games I'm covering has 6 games in it. So we're going to 2014 after this one, but lots of new things, lots of records. Either way, I'm here to talk about it. So either way, in the meantime, and in between time, be looking for more videos from Trev. Later.